Okay.
So like, who is more likely to survive? A person who's adaptable and mobile, or someone who is hunkered down in a reinforced location? And like, there is no right answer to this, but it's something worth thinking about.
Welcome back to the ProperThieves podcast. The following conversation is going to be with Mr. Will Stevenson. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. Enjoy.
So, Will, tell us your background. Your 5-second elevator speech. Who are you?
I am a marksmanship instructor. I am a Marine. I'm a philosopher. I'm a crypto investor. And I'm a bit of a degenerate.
Okay. How does degeneracy and philosophy go hand in hand?
How degenerate? Well, so here's the thing. If you spend your whole life doing the boring stuff and nothing but like learning fancy cool things, and you never go around enjoying yourself, like, I think that there's a good balance to be had between the two. You know, it's not like a 50-50, it's not a 60-40. It kind of fluctuates periodically throughout the whole thing. But if you spend your whole life doing nothing but like deep thinking and never, you know, going to the club or going surfing or whatever the heck, then, you know, it's a life wasted, something like that.
Yeah. Do you surf much?
I windsurf, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm a big fan of using the wind to move myself around. So I've never done kite surfing. I only do windsurfing, which is the one where you have a sail built into a surfboard, and then you manipulate that along the water.
Well, what's the difference between that and the other one?
Windsurfing and kite surfing?
Yeah.
Kite surfing is you got a big old kite on a string, and you use the kite to pull yourself. And it's a whole different like mechanism of thrust and lift and stuff. So yeah. But I mean, it'd be great to learn. It'd be great to learn kite surfing as well, but I prefer windsurfing. It's much more immediate response to the motions that you're doing. Like with kite surfing, it's there's a delay of sorts, and you have to also be anticipatory of like what the wind's going to do and what your kite's going to do in a few seconds, and then react before it happens.
But you don't have to take the waves into account with something like that, do you?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I thought it used just wind, because I've been regular surfing a couple of times. I'm dog shit.
Oh yeah. So it's not
like catching a wave. It's more like just trying to catch like a gust.
Yeah,
or
so
something.
you use the waves as like jumps.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how to do. So the thing that I focus on is slalom windsurfing, which is basically just going fast in a straight line. So like that's generally more like softer water and just going for speed and shit.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do.
So I have a lot of things I want to ask you because genuinely I want to know. First things first, I am a total gun noob.
Mm-hmm.
I own one pistol, and I haven't even shot it because I'm not that interested in going to the range. So if you're a marksmanship instructor, what would you tell someone like me to get into like home defense, or is there a minimum armory someone should keep?
Am I selling you the idea, or am I providing you guidance?
You're the coach. I'm trying to learn how to shoot and be functional.
So I don't have to convince you of the importance and necessity of like gun ownership and stuff like that.
I think that'd be important, because there's a lot of people that don't understand the importance of having a firearm.
All right, so the first step in the sales process is like, if you don't have claws to defend yourself or to stop other people from imposing their will on you, then like you have no means of basically reinforcing your sovereignty. Mm-hmm. So like guns are the great equalizer. Like if I'm bigger than you, or if some lady's walking down the street and is met by like some big dude, like the gun will level the playing field, right? So a gun's just a tool by which you can achieve a goal or something like that. So if you don't have guns, or if you don't use guns, then it's like you're missing out on one more thing that could like potentially benefit you in the future. So that's my sales pitch for guns, and I'm not a super good salesman.
Yeah.
But that's my beginner's pitch.
Well, I'm kind of going about gun ownership and guns in general from like a martial artist perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily trying to be like a collector and have all the varieties of guns and appreciate all the nuances of the trigger and the scope. Mm-hmm. I want to have one or two things that I'm very proficient in that I know and I can use in situations, and I know that gun in and out, every part.
Yeah.
So I was originally thinking to get 2 Glock 17s identical.
Sure.
Having one for the car and one for the house.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like 2 different ones. If my muscle memory is on one, I don't want to have to relearn muscle memory in a crazy situation or hand this to, say, a friend or girlfriend to be like, oh, this one is the safety is here and the, it's very easy to explain to somebody.
Okay.
I was thinking AR would be a great one because it can double for home defense and hunting, certain things.
Yeah.
Shotgun, I need to get.
I always thought shotguns were the best self-defense, like home defense.
Nah, not at
No?
all.
What is it?
Carbine. You'd want a carbine for home defense.
Maybe.
that?
Yeah, explain what that is.
So a shotgun's like, it's a high recoil, high spread, it's one at a time thing. A carbine is a pistol round in a rifle size. Huh. So
kind of like a sub.
Sure, like a submachine gun, but without the machine gun part.
Yeah.
So like a carbine would be something like an MP5 or like an AR-15 chambered in 9mm.
Yeah.
Or an AK chambered in 9mm. Just something like a small pistol caliber that has very little recoil and that you can fucking stack a huge magazine full of. So like if someone busts into your house and you need to put like 30 rounds into a motherfucker, you probably don't want to be doing it with a pistol.
Yeah.
You have much more control with a rifle.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So there's this really cool thing that my brother-in-law got my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically just an attachment that you can slide a Glock 19, Glock 17 into. You put it in this, and so the Glock 19 is the actual gun and the mechanism, but it basically turns it into a rifle.
Yeah.
And so you have your grips, and you can get lights and all the fancy stuff for it, but you just insert this pistol into it, and then you have like a steady rifle that you can use. And you just use the pistol grip as one of the foregrips. It's super, super cool. And I thought about getting one, but I hadn't pulled the trigger.
Yeah, those are good phrasing right there. Pull the trigger. I like it. Those are good. I have not used any of those yet, but I've seen them come out in the recent recent history. I know that SIG, I think, makes one for the P320, I want to say, and then Glock probably makes them as well because those are like the most common. It probably has the largest market of gun users. But yeah, those things would be probably a good choice.
Yeah, I would get one for my Glock 19. I carry SIG P365 XL, like that's my daily carry. But Glock 19, I just keep in my car. But if I got one of those, it'd be for the Glock 19. But I haven't shot one either. My brother-in-law just showed me, and I was like, "Fuck, that thing looks fun."
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I imagine they're slick. Like anything that is like groundbreaking like tech or whatever in the gun sector, it always piques my interest.
Yeah.
You were talking a little bit about not like wanting to become like a crazy gun nut and have like a huge collection. I've recently started liquidating. Well, I don't know if this is good for hey, internet. I don't have as many guns as I used to because I realize
he's vulnerable.
I've got two hands, right? If I've got 50 guns in two hands, it's like, well, congratulations, you can use maximum of 2 of them at once, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, do I really need?
You can only strap so much stuff to your body.
Yeah, exactly. And like I'd bought guns because like when you buy something, you get that like little hit of endorphins or the hit of dopamine where it's like, yes, I've solved a problem.
Well, guns are fucking cool.
Guns are fucking cool.
I see the money trap.
Yep.
I'm a mile away because I've been that way with
Yeah.
trucks. I've been that way with computers.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure, man.
So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But like, if I could just find like an AR maker that I like, I also ear pro.
Yeah.
If you're shooting the gun with just your naked ears, you're gonna go deaf.
Yep.
One self-defense situation.
Can confirm.
So you need to have like really high quality ear protection that can also enhance the sound around you, and it nullifies the gunshots and stuff.
Yes.
Walker makes a good set of those, and they also make like little walkie-talkies that can attach into them.
I think
They're super cool.
I think Matt and Alan have a pair of those.
Really?
But,
Yeah, I got Walker headset.
I feel
myself.
like I've kind of fucked my hearing a little bit. I mean, we grew up country. We grew up going out hunting, shooting clay pigeons, and just shooting around the farm, and we never wore hearing protection.
Yep.
Ever. It's just not something we ever did. The first time I started wearing hearing protection was whenever I went to the range with my buddies the first time.
Yeah.
That's like pretty much the only time we've worn
You know
hearing
what
protection.
the sad truth about hearing loss is? It's really unattractive to women if you're always going, huh?
And I
What?
do that shit, and I catch myself doing
It
it.
makes you look old.
But I find it a lot of times I feel like
Girls like the old.
But they don't like that.
yeah.
This is true.
I'll be listening to a conversation and I notice myself just saying like, huh? Or asking them, even if I heard the sentence perfectly cohesively. I wonder, like, if that's something just, like, why do I do that? It's one of those things that I want to fix about myself.
I do it as well. I mean, my hearing sucks. I lost a lot of hearing from being around guns a lot in the Marine Corps and not being smart and wearing ear protection. a lot of the times when it was required and stuff. And I also worked a lot around helicopters, so like. So I've got a lot of hearing loss, and I can confirm that, saying what all the time. But I usually you can put like positive spins on it. Like, what was that? I really want to hear what you said, but I've got this issue. So can you say that again for me? Like, as long as you put a spin on it.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll ask one time, and then if I don't hear a second, I'll just be like, huh.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that stuff.
I do that so much, bro. So much. Oh man, but that's totally the way that it goes sometimes.
So what I want to do with this gun stuff is have like a kit in my closet that like if someone breaks in the house, I can throw on some body armor, ear pro, grab my carbine or whatever is the best for the house, and have it be like it's always there. I don't want to have to be moving this kit every time I go in my truck, every time So I also want a truck defense thing.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I worked with that had a Raptor, and he had this really cool gun, little safe underneath his chair, his seat, and it had AR pistol. He had a little hatchet, and it was all cut out in foam and there ready.
Those things are cool. I've always wanted to do something like that.
He was saying, and I thought it was pretty smart. He was actually an Army Green Beret dude.
Yeah.
And he was a rifleman and he would talk for hours about ballistics and the math and all the intricacies that go into this stuff. It's very above my head, like intellectual wise.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I think it was G.K. Chesterton once said that like there are no uninteresting subjects, just uninterested people.
Okay.
And so like if you learn a lot about something and eventually develop an interest for it, like there's so much cool shit that like even about like pouring concrete.
Yes.
About some of the most mundane things in the world, collecting butterflies, whatever,
Yeah.
But like, ballistics is super cool, man. Oh, dude, I love ballistics.
Well, so this guy's philosophy was whatever I have in my car is just to protect me when I get home. And the home is where I keep my ammunition and food. You know what I mean? And then you have a much better chance of defending yourself in a chaotic situation from your home base where you have higher ground and walls and storage,
Probably, yeah.
So I don't need a ton of weapons. I also want something to hunt. Like pigs, deer, I don't know if I can do that with my AR, maybe if I rechamber
Yeah,
it.
you could.
I would rather just buy an extra gun for hunting and one for home defense.
I've never really understood the idea of having like big calibers for certain animals and stuff. I shot a deer with a 17 HMR.
Yep.
Like it'll kill.
Well, that's a zippy gun. That's super
Yeah.
high velocity. You're looking at like 4,000 foot, I think. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like 4,000 foot per second with 17 HMR. So that thing is going so
Yeah,
fast.
we'll fact check that. I don't.
Yeah, probably. So hey, Jamie, pull it up wherever you're at or whatever. But like like the 17s, man. Those are some. I got. Oh, it's not in my car right now, but it's in my shipping container. I got a 17 as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna buy a Steyr Zephyr, but that was like a little bit out of my price range at the time. But I love me some Steyr weapons.
Yeah.
But yeah, 17s are great.
I love it. I love it. What I love about it's like you said, the fastest bullet. So I have a huge scope on it. So I had it zeroed in at like 150 yards where you could just hit like the ace of a playing card. 17s are so much fun because you can get so long distance without the bullet dropping because it's just like supersonic.
Yep, because it's so lightweight. One of the cool things that most people don't realize when it comes to ballistics is if you take a same size bullet and you hold it next to the chamber, and then the gun's like level with like the earth or whatever, you drop the bullet and you shoot the bullet at the same time, they will both touch the ground at the same time.
So the earth is flat?
Yeah, presuming that the earth is flat, right? Flat earthers out there, you win, right? But like, when you fire the weapon, like it experiences the same amount of gravity as the one that you're holding right there, so they both fall at the same rate. It's just because it's going so fast that it goes like really far before it hits the ground. So if you drop a bullet and you fire a bullet, they both hit the ground at the same time.
Have people
That's
done
nuts.
tests like this? Do you think there's like
for sure.
That's just the way that gravity works. Like the bullet doesn't fly. It
it
doesn't
makes,
generate
it makes
lift.
complete
Yeah.
sense. I've just never thought about that.
Yeah.
It's so deep. Like the world of fighting with guns is just as deep as the world of fighting unarmed.
Oh yeah. It's crazy,
And
cool,
like,
bro.
once I start, I can tell I'm going to become like some weirdo gun nut.
Yeah.
But
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, let me ask you this. So you said you were downsizing or whatever.
Yes. Liquidating.
Yeah, liquidating.
Investing. Changing where my value is stored from one mechanism into another.
Right. So, like you said, you only have two hands. The most you could ever use at one time is two.
Yeah.
I think the reason that we've kept as many as we have is so like if shit hits the fan, like we have some that we can distribute to other people.
well, you might have like families hiding out in your house, and then there's 4 sets of hands, And if you don't have an extra 4 guns, they're just kind of sitting ducks.
Yeah, that was my thinking behind it.
I've got a question to pose to you guys, and it's the tortoise versus the hare. It's the tortoise versus the hare.
Okay.
So like, who is more likely to survive? A person who's adaptable and mobile, or someone who is hunkered down in a reinforced location? And like, there is no right answer to this, but it's something worth thinking about. Right?
Yeah.
So like, is it better to have a solid home base,
Mm-hmm.
or like that's like well fortified and you can survive there, or whatever the hell, or is it better to be able to like move around and like jump around and just, I don't know, what would be the
Just
what's
be
the
mobile.
phrase?
Yeah,
Yes,
be
just
mobile.
Be mobile.
Yeah, it's something to think about. There is one of the things I like to talk about is during World War II, the French changed their tank fighting doctrine to where they basically eliminated all the armor on their tanks. They put a shit ton of effort into the mobility factors of their tanks. So like the Germans were focused a lot on armor, same as like the Russians and the Americans. And then the French, they focused on mobility. And so the French, like they more or less unarmored all their tanks, and now they had zippy tanks that could go around and do all sorts of things and outmaneuver other tanks. So like you can employ the armor doctrine, or you can employ the mobility doctrine.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so like
Why not?
eventually
Why, you can do both, though, couldn't
yeah.
you?
And there were several classes of tanks back then. You had like light tanks, medium weight tanks, heavy tanks, tank destroyers, artillery tanks, all sorts of different things. But the commonality between all the different classes of French tanks was super lightweight and like very mobile, like high end. So like if they get shot, like there's not a whole lot of defensive capability. But because they can move around and do a lot of stuff, that
not
opens a
getting
lot
hit.
of doors that the other ones can't have. So it's
Yeah.
like there's certain tools that will allow you to accomplish different things at different times and places, and just
Yeah.
like your level of adaptability to whatever the circumstance necessitates will like change what tools you can use. So
Yeah, 'cause
something to think about.
Yeah, because then you start thinking about like, okay, are you just going to be by yourself, or are you bringing friends, family?
Yeah, that's a big-
There's
that's a
just
big
so
thing,
many
too.
things that you have to take into
Like if you have
consideration.
wife and kids, you can't be hiking overnight through the woods, to avoid radar. You have to sometimes, I think there's 3 possibilities. One, hunker down, the armor.
Yep.
Build up your base, walls, cameras, guns, rations. The other one is bug out. Mike Glover, have you heard of him? He's a
I've heard the name,
Green
yeah.
Beret. He does
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of, I think Fieldcraft is his channel.
Yep.
Really cool dude. He has a Dodge Ram 2500 diesel.
Okay.
And he's put on a 75-gallon auxiliary tank in the back,
Yep.
so he has 100 gallons of fuel. And so if you just pencil math 20 miles per gallon, he can get 2,000 miles somewhere. And he goes, so his goal is, if the country implodes, is to immediately just go to Canada. And maybe Canada will let him in. I don't know. But he's like, you wouldn't go to Mexico, but the idea is that
Maybe.
if
Depends
the
on
grid
what you wanna
falls-
do.
Yeah, if the grid shuts down and the gas stations are down and all you have is 10 gallons of gas in your car, you're only going to get 30 miles down the road. I mean, it's, so his deal is he's always prepared. It's a huge lifted truck that has storage, camper shell, all that,
I would say
stuff.
you're probably better off building a massive amount of money and then putting that money into things that you can like your Rolex is your last plane ticket.
Yeah.
You know? Have you
Yeah.
guys ever heard that phrase?
Yes.
Yeah.
It always holds its value.
Yep. So if you need to get out of somewhere and the place that you're getting out of, they don't like want your cash or your money or whatever, it's like, oh, I've got this fancy watch. I'll trade this for like a ride out of here. I would say that you're better off, instead of like preparing to like defend yourself, just to go to a better place.
Yeah.
And if there are no better places, then like, well, shit.
Then you're
Well, that's
fucked
kind of
anyway.
the third
SOL.
option is you
Yeah.
become not off grid, but you layer yourself in all the grids.
Yeah.
So you can grid hop.
Yep.
You can go to this country, you can go to that country, you can hop on this jet and go there, just get a hotel and a house.
Yep.
That
Exactly.
takes a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, for
But
sure.
also crypto is actually, I think, a big factor in that.
Hey, good
Yeah.
transition.
Because, for example, I was hanging out with some European dudes, some very classy.
Yeah.
And I asked them if I could Venmo them some money. They had no idea what I was talking about. They didn't use Cash App. They didn't use Zelle. Any of the apps, they all use crypto.
Yeah.
But crypto is essentially like a currency that you can move around digitally
Yeah.
and go multiple grids.
It's
Versus
an-
like carrying Rolexes.
Yeah.
It's just it's another ration to store and
Yeah.
have.
Yep.
I'd like to give my opinion on the benefits of crypto, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah.
The
so-
benefits of crypto.
Yeah, the benefits of crypto.
Sovereignty. You
Okay.
don't have to rely on someone else's system. You can rely. Well, I mean, everything is someone else's system, right?
Right.
So, like, when you're buying a truck, you're investing in Ford's system. When you're buying gold, you're investing in that shiny yellow stuff system.
Yeah.
When you buy diamonds, you're getting into like the Rockefeller system, or maybe not Rockefeller. It was one of the big families. De Beers, that's the one. Yeah. Not the Rockefellers. That's oil. But anyways, all that to say that like the magical internet Ponzi money system is essentially just a glorified Excel spreadsheet online that everyone can see and everyone can like that you need a special password in order to send money from one place to another. That's like what cryptocurrency is. And so if you want to be able to access your money, say if you're up in Canada and you need to buy truck supplies because your truck needs to move forward and backwards, and good old Justin Trudeau is like, hey, you actually don't have any money in your bank account anymore. They can't do that with like a lot of cryptocurrencies. There's some that they sort of can, there's some that they sort of can't, but a lot of them take like a lot more leverage to stop people from getting and sending value to each other.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, all currency systems are just a means of storing energy, right? So like whether it's dollars or whether it's oil or whether it's, you know, sunlight or whether it's whatever, it's all just like these value systems that we set up where we all invest a certain amount of value in, and then we can trade it for other people that also use that same value system.
Yeah.
You know, same like Rolexes and gold.
Crypto really makes you think about the essence and nature of currency and money.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's a vital factor to society. You know, how else could someone in an HR department 30 miles down the road generate value to me if all we do is trade chickens and you know, barter systems? So it allows this exponential growth of society where we attain value to, on paper, valueless tasks.
Yeah.
You know, but they're all part of these massive cogs of enterprise and corporation. And, you know.
That's what I was going to say. Like the biggest benefit that I see in crypto is the fact that you can send and receive money just about anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
Whereas before, wire transfers, 2-3 days, transfers and stuff. And now
You're
it's
relying
like
on someone else's less efficient system to do the same thing.
Yeah. Because like if I'm in, I don't know, Budapest, Hungary or something like that, and it's like, hey, I need 200 grand, something like that, from one of my buddies in the U.S. It's like, it's
done.
There
it is.
Yeah.
You pay a small transaction fee to the guys that are calculating the code and the ones and zeros on the computer. They're doing their stuff. We'll call that like the ATM fee, right? You pay the small transaction fee and then boom. I mean, you pay a transaction fee when you wire money in a bank.
Yeah.
You pay a transaction fee no matter what you're doing.
Credit card.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like everything has like small little fees, but this one with the magic internet money system, the magical Ponzi scheme, right? It's all ones and zeros anyways.
So, but say, okay, so now I have that money in crypto and I'm in Budapest, Hungary.
Yeah.
How do I get that in that currency?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So you're bringing up the subject of on-ramps and off-ramps, right? So most places don't accept cryptocurrency as an exchange for like goods and services. So the on-ramps and the off-ramps are some of the most important parts of the cryptocurrency system, and most of them require some level of KYC, which means know your customer, right? So if you go and open up a Coinbase account, they got to be like, hey, what's your social security number? What's your, like, show me a picture of your ID. Where do you live? Blah, da, da, da. And all this is for, like, you know, taxes and government and all that stuff. But there's centralized exchanges that will take your dollars and turn it into, you know, crypto units or whatever their exchange rate is. There's Bitcoin ATMs all over the place that, like, they'll charge an arm and a leg for the fee, but you have the convenience of, like, hey, I got cash right now. You know, some Bitcoin ATMs require, like, you to set up, like, a password and like get an app and then like put in your passport or whatever the heck. There's some fantastic ones that I'm aware of where you can basically use cryptocurrency to buy prepaid debit cards, and then you can just like have those with you.
I've seen a Coinbase card and stuff like that.
Yep, those work as well. Coinbase, Gemini, Coast, 0x Coast is making one for the Pulse Chain ecosystem. Or I'm not going to say they're making one. They have done little test surveys out to people in the crypto community to be like, hey, if we provided this service, would that be something you guys would be interested in? But I know there's a couple gentlemen that we know from our networking thing that they make other products and services that are similar to. It's basically just like a credit card combined with like a trust. That like does its own little transactions, and you know all of these things like generate fees and stuff for the people who made it, and like to keep the system operating. But there's all sorts of on ramps and off ramps that exist in the system. The easiest ones, the most user friendly ones, are like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Cash App, PayPal. There's a lot of large centralized entities that will take your dollars, your fiat, your euros, your whatever, and turn it into some sort of cryptocurrency, and then vice versa, back and forth.
So I read that Elon Musk, that was his original intention with X, was to be a currency trading platform. Have you heard of anything about that?
I've heard of it. I have no idea what he's going to do. That man's a bit of an enigma.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but I know that he has said he's not going to launch his own coin. But like people change their minds. Everyone reserves the right
He's
to change
just
their mind.
hugely influential in the crypto market. Remember
Oh,
with
yeah, for sure.
Dogecoin, how he would make a tweet and it would spike in value.
Yeah. So the last bull market, he was doing some crazy stuff. Like he bought $1 billion of Bitcoin, noticed that the price didn't move, and then he was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then like he did some tweeting, he did some posting and stuff. So yeah, he definitely has a lot of influence over the crypto space.
So backtracking just a little bit here. Whenever it comes to the off ramp,
Yes.
one of my buddies in Hong Kong has created something that pretty much solves the issue. It hasn't launched or gone live yet, and I'm not going to drop his name, but he has created a system where you take your money from Coinbase, it gets electronically deposited into a trust, right? And this trust has a card
Yep.
that is active in 172 countries, and you
think-
just run the card.
I think you and I are talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Because I was introduced by our mutual friend to this. I don't know if it's the same gentleman, but I'm presuming based on what you're describing. Huh?
R.
No, but I remember that the logo was fox shaped.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Brandon.
Could
No.
be. I have no
I
idea.
made that up. That was a random name.
It could be
Yeah.
Giorgiano. I don't remember the gentleman's name.
We'll have to talk more about it off camera.
I would be interested in
don't break
interviewing
any
him.
NDAs or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
sure.
we'll talk about it later.
Absolutely. Sorry guys. Sensitive to you.
Yeah.
But this is a
it's-
whole like we started talking about guns and rations. Now we're talking about the most advanced financial stuff.
We're
There
staying
is.
on the topic of self-sovereignty though.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
so it's all connected, right? Like guns is your self-sovereignty, like your ability to protect yourself
That's
from other
baseline.
people.
Baseline.
Sure. And like you can actually boil this all down to the two statements of love and war, right?
Okay.
So when you boil war down to its core principles, war is the imposition of will on someone else, and then like love is like you're falling in line with what other people want to do. So one is imposition, and one is like cooperation, something like that. So with cryptocurrency and with weapon systems, you gain more autonomy and sovereignty over the ability to protect yourself from having other people's will imposed upon you. So like with cryptocurrency, you're not subject to the bank saying, hey, it's Sunday, sorry, you can't get your money out. Or like, oh, this ATM only allows you to pull out 1,000 at a time. Or like, oh, yeah, your wire transfer is going to take 7 more days. Or, whatever. Like when you're using someone else's system, you are slave, for lack of a better word. You're slave to whatever their system is that's in place, right? So if I go to a store and they don't take cash because they're silly nincompoops or whatever, then like, oh, well, I can't do business with them or whatever. And I can't like impose my will and take my money, But like, if the government wants to shut down my bank account, or if this like they want to freeze my accounts or something for whatever reason, whether I consider it legitimate or not, like they can't do that with cryptocurrency to the same level, like at the same level of ease that they can with a bank account.
Oh,
So
for
it's just
Yeah.
one more level of like protecting yourself from other people imposing their will upon you, whether it's weapons or ones and zeros on the internet
Yeah.
that exist on a fancy Excel spreadsheet.
Well, financial attacks are devastating. If you're a trucker, if you're a dude making $50,000, $70,000 a year, and the government just halts your ability to do any commerce, have any money,
Yeah.
immediately you start getting late fees and eviction notices and
Yeah.
repossession notices. Like your life will crumble.
And the
very
process
fast.
is the punishment, Like you don't even have to be like found guilty of something. Just the fact that they can do this like preemptive step. And then it's like, oh, now you got to like deal with us going through this whole like system with you. So a lot of mechanisms of enforcement is the process more so than like being found guilty and then being punished or something.
So how do you feel being a Marine? I know you guys
Pretty
are
good.
very patriotic.
Yeah.
But genuinely patriotic. Every Marine I've met genuinely loves America and like believes in fighting for his country. If our government was like mistreating us, how do you feel about bugging out to another country? Would you rather stay in America and make it work here?
It is because of my great love for this country that I do so hate the government. So if like I only have
You
so
love the
much
country, but not the people in charge.
Exactly, right? So I love the concept. I love the idea. I love the morals and the ethics and the culture. Well, I used to, anyways. You know, everyone changes. Like societies change, cultures change. You know, America right now is like 75% overweight. 40-ish% of people are like morbidly obese, right? It didn't used to be that way. Like 20, 30 years ago, number was probably way lower, right? People change, environments change, everything changes. I liked the system when I naively joined it, you know, and like I don't regret my decision at all, but I'm not opposed to bugging out of the country if the country becomes a place where I can no longer leverage my ability to accomplish my goals. So like if it becomes so like imposingly difficult to live the kind of life that I want to live in here in America, then I'm not opposed to leaving. I'm a big fan of Andrew Henderson's go where you're treated best policy. Andrew Henderson is the nomad capitalist, if you guys haven't looked at his stuff.
I haven't.
Yeah, he takes on like high net worth individuals and businesses, and he teaches them like very like tax advantageous places to run their businesses and like systems that they can set up to be like, you know, I'm a citizen of, you know, all these, or like not even a citizen, but I'm just like a visitor, or I can go this, that, and the other place for this, that, and the other reason. Like he wrote a book called The Nomad Capitalist. I haven't read it all the way through, but the dabblings that I've looked into it, like it's pretty damn good. But so to answer your question, I'm not opposed to leaving America if America becomes hostile towards me accomplishing the things that I want to do. But I love this place, and I would hate to see it go down. I've come to realize recently that politics is a very low leverage activity. When I say low leverage activity, what I mean is the amount of effort that I put in versus the amount of result that it generates, right? So I want to be engaged in only high leverage activities where I can make the biggest difference in making the world a better place or earning as much money or whatever as I can as possible. And I see like engaging in politics as a very low leverage activity. I see people that pour their entire lives into trying to change the system to be better, and like it changes in 4 years, and like and it's all just a moot point. And so I don't want to spend my whole life on low leverage activities. I want to do stuff that's super effective.
Yeah.
So
Based on that, what's your opinion on like voting?
on voting?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it probably used to be cool back when like, see, here's the thing is with voting is expression of authority, right? And authority is intrinsically tied to three concepts. You have authority, you have accountability, and you have responsibility. The problem with voting is that it doesn't bring along accountability and responsibility for your actions. Take California, Washington State, DC, for example, right? People vote for terrible policies. Terrible policies are enacted. They don't necessarily have to deal with all of them. And it ruins the lower to middle class like living situation in those areas. And so people like en masse leave that place and go to a better place. Some folks adapt to the new system, like, you know, Californians fleeing from California, moving into Texas, realizing the Texas way and being like, oh, this is way better. I'm going to adapt. And then some of them, like, they leave California and they're like, oh, well, that place sucked. We're going to try it again over here, you know? So it's like there's two different thought camps with that. But I think that voting is fantastic when you have skin in the game. But if you're exercising authority without any sort of means of being held accountable for your decision, or dealing with the responsibility of like, hey, like with great power comes great responsibility, and when everybody's just throwing around their authority willy-nilly and not dealing with the consequences or understanding the responsibility that comes with those actions, then it's like then you have a bad system. It's like giving dynamite to kids. You know, it's like, well, even that's a bad example because the kids would have to deal with the consequences of those actions. But it's like, I think that the voting system needs to be made so that people have to sacrifice value. People need to sacrifice something in order to, like, you need to sacrifice value in order to generate value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, when
But
you
do you have
this,
like an example of like what that might
Fire
be?
department, you know,
Of what
everyone
voting
pays
used
a
to
little
be?
bit of taxes and
Oh,
Sure,
like,
it's a fire
like
department.
serving the country in some
yeah,
sort of way.
so like it's Netflix. A better example, well, not a better example, but a more effective example is you can subscribe to Netflix and then you can get Netflix service. Now, like, you don't really have a choice of like, oh, do I want to subscribe to fire safety or do I not want to subscribe to fire safety?
Yeah.
You just sort of kind of pay for it in your taxes. But the problem is that like the taxation system, well, you actually don't pay for it with your taxes. Fun fact, your taxes don't pay for a damn thing. The money is printed by the government. Like when they create these omnibus spending bills, they generate federal income, and then that's where the money comes from that the government spends. It's from omnibus spending bills. It's not from taxation. taxation is essentially unnecessary because they
If
just
you
print
saw how
money.
much of our money was spent, how much of our budget, taxpayer budget, was spent on just stuff that most people would never want it spent on.
Well, see, the thing is, we don't know.
It's unreal.
What most
It's
like
not transparent at all.
exactly.
We don't know where our tax dollars are going.
Yeah, all that we know is
They just
that
tell us
like
they need more and more and more because
Yeah.
we sacrifice
stuff.
money into the system, and then the system goes and does a whole bunch of dumb things with the money. Or like, you could say dumb, you could say good, you could say bad, whatever. Like,
Say greedy.
objectively,
Negative somehow.
objectively inefficient.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
So like the system is incredibly inefficient with handling money, and so they're just like, oh, we'll just print more. And what like printing money is a secondary tax. Printing money dilutes the power of the money that you already have. So like every year there's about 5% more money being created and circulated. I think during the crazy zombie virus of the last couple of years, there was 40% of all the money that's currently in circulation was printed during that time span. And this is all the money in the world.
I
not
remember
just
seeing
America.
that. That's
you know
why
what we need? We need like a blockchain voting system that's like a digital voting system of the future that tracks people and can quantify like, where they live and it's visible to everybody.
Maybe.
Maybe it's scary
There's
to have
something about
everyone's
privacy
vote.
to be said for that,
Yeah.
you know? Like if you know how your neighbor's voting.
Where do you draw the line between privacy and transparency, especially with voting?
Well, I
For
said,
something that important.
so like I don't think that everyone should. I'm a big fan of Robert Heinlein. Have you guys ever read Starship Troopers?
I've seen the movie.
Okay, well the movie's a
Awesome
terrible
movie.
The movie's
Fucking
hilarious and it's super cool, but it's
Girls
kind
are
of
hot.
it kind of pokes fun at the ideas that are mentioned in the book. One of the core concepts of the book Starship Troopers is that you earn your right to vote
Yeah.
via sacrificing for the system. You could either become a doctor or you could join the military, and you
Yeah.
earn your right to vote.
Yeah, only citizens could vote.
Yep,
To
they're
become a
citizen
citizen was
civilians.
like yeah.
Yeah, correct. And so it's like it's part of that. Like the ledger's got a balance thing. You have to sacrifice something for the system in order to generate like some sort of value of decision making power in the system. So,
Yeah.
super huge fan. Like the movie's entertaining, but the movie does a terrible job of
What did you say it was called?
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
I've
so
never
it's about
seen the
the
movie
bugs
or
that-
read it.
It's a sci-fi book, yeah. And so that's like where the whole idea of power armor came from, like the Halo and the orbital drop shock troopers, the ODSTs, that like fly in from space in like a pod and they land on the ground and they go and fuck shit up.
Okay.
That whole idea of power armor and orbital drop, shock marines or whatever, came from like Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers, which
Really?
he wrote in like the 1950s or 60s.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah, so that's like where it all originated.
You see that in all kinds of sci-fi books and,
Yeah.
and worlds, the space marine archetype.
Oh yeah, that all essentially originated from Robert Heinlein. And like as he got older in life, his testosterone levels dropped, and he wrote about different things. But like his beginning books. Well, I mean, they didn't know about this stuff back at the time. But like
Yeah.
you look at musicians, like they make really crazy cool music in the beginning, and then they kind of mellow out as they get older. It's just part of the ebb and flows of like people getting older and not taking TRT and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, all that to say that voting needs to have some sort of sacrifice in order for it to like be treated with the proper respect that it deserves,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I
a
love
big
that.
deal. Voting, when you really think about it. I do think every person
I think
should
it used
have
to be a big deal. I think right now it's not a big deal at all.
I do believe in the
You know-
democratic idea of every citizen having a voice, But I also am not naive to the fact that there's a lot of very low IQ people that are easily misled, are easily steered in emotional directions.
Sure.
And so, but does that mean they're not as valuable as someone else just because
Yeah.
they're not as educated or whatnot? I don't know. That's kind of a philosophical line.
Yeah. I think that everyone should be given the opportunity to earn the right to vote, whatever that might be, whatever the metric is that we could decide on being like this is the way that you earn your vote. Like, but I
Yeah.
think that there has to be a sacrifice. Like you have to go to boot camp to be in the military. You have to sacrifice like your time and your calories and your levels of comfort and like your attention and all this
Yeah.
stuff in order to be this cool thing. You have to go through hazing to join the fraternity. You have to suffer in order to like really value something. If I just handed you guys like $1 million right now, it'd be a totally different scenario than if you guys went out and you worked for $1 million. If I handed you a bag of almonds that are already pre-cracked, and I handed you a bag of almonds that weren't cracked, and you had to crack you would value the almonds that you sat there and you worked for more so than the bag of almonds that they're just, it's ready for you.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
So it's not that they taste better or anything. It's just like sacrificing value makes you appreciate value.
Well, that was the intention behind you pay taxes, and that's your sacrifice. You all chip into the pie for the agreed upon stuff, and now you can vote on.
Ooh, that was good timing. That fell right in.
I saw that. That was clean.
But then you get the dilemma of, well, what if they're not a citizen, but
I'm
they live
gonna-
here?
I'm gonna
what,
disagree
what
with you
does it
about
mean to be
taxes.
American? Do I have to live here 12 months a year? What if I have 2 homes and I live 3 months in some other place? What if I live 6 months in a place? What if I live 10 months in some other place, 2 months here? Am I still an American? Am I a citizen? What if I still pay taxes but live 12 months overseas?
Oh man, we could what if all day long.
I don't know, but
But I
like,
think the sacrifice something, forget something is like a pretty it's basically, it just ensures that you have skin in the game and you're more likely to make a reasonable choice. Perhaps. Could be wrong. Could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to disagree with you about taxes though, because
Okay.
or income tax specifically, right?
Okay.
Income tax was introduced in 1913 by, I think it was 1913. It was somewhere in that range by our lovely, lovely president, Woodrow Wilson. So if you guys think that Biden's bad, if you guys think Obama's bad, if you guys think Trump's bad or Bush is bad or whatever the hell, then you guys got no idea about Woodrow motherfucking Wilson. This dude, this asshole, is the guy who introduced income tax to the country, right? And it started off as only the top wealthiest people were the ones that are required to pay income tax, and they only pay about 2 to 3% of like their wealth.
wow.
And then it you know, like anything, like you give them an inch, and then over time they end up taking a mile.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
right now we're looking at like if you're in like the rich, wealthy income area of like something around like $200,000-$300,000, like you start paying exorbitant like percentages of your income as tax. And so the way around that is to just not have income, but instead own assets
Yep.
that aren't like that are different. So like there's Robert Kiyosaki is very good at in his Rich Dad Poor Dad book, he's very good at like outlining like, hey, there's the tax code system for like income tax is actually designed to encourage behavior with people who have lots of money. So like if you start a business, if you rent homes out, like you get tax breaks and you can like legally not pay taxes. And I'm a big fan of his whole philosophy of it is your civic duty as an American to pay as little taxes as possible, because like you should protect the wealth that you have rather than give your wealth to someone else who's going to do stupid things that take a long time and they're going to do it very inefficiently and poorly. So,
I love his.
but yeah, income tax started in 1913 by Woodrow Wilson. He's the worst president in the
And
history.
it's
of the
funny,
United
it
States.
started so innocently. And who 99.9% of the population, if they hear, oh, the ultra wealthy had lose 2% of their money, boo hoo, it
way
builds
more than
parks
that.
and roads and it builds. But
No,
then,
it doesn't.
Yeah, but that's how they pitch
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah. And,
Like-
and that's people are so naive. People talk all the time about things they don't understand. And like nobody's ready to eat a slice of humble pie and be like, no, I don't know how.
Well, like
much
even
this
small
works."
scale, City of Austin, a few years ago, they proposed a small tax of a fraction of a percent on only the homeowners with homes above, and the promise of getting a new bike park in downtown to fund the restoration of effects. And,
trust
everyone's
the
like,
government.
and it's like, okay, what's your timeline? When are you going to deliver this?
Yeah, exactly.
30 years from now, 50?
yeah.
This is one of those projects that, 10 years down the line, the budget, it's not there. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
The tax is going to stay forever in perpetuity.
It's an incremental.
And all these little like bait and switch promises of, well, no, the tax 2% of the rich, but we're going to give you roads and this, and then the roads take forever to get built. Then
Yeah.
You know what the rich can do? The rich can learn how to not pay taxes.
Yeah.
The stupid rich don't learn how to not pay taxes. The smart rich do.
yes,
And so like there's more middle income and poor people than there are rich people. So you can always get the votes of those
Yeah.
folks by saying, hey, we're going to attack these bad guys. And then the bad guys, the rich people, they have more like economic energy. They have more people that can learn things for them. They have more resources to research, hey, how do I avoid this stuff? So it essentially ends up becoming the middle class voting their own taxes into place. And that's how we find ourselves in like the income tax like world that we're in right now.
yeah. Is it your goal to be geographically independent?
My goal?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I like to have options regarding anything in life.
Have you ever looked into moving to like Dubai or Saudi Arabia or some
I don't
of
know if I would go to Dubai.
tax haven type countries?
But yeah, I would definitely love to be in a place. Puerto Rico is the one that springs
Yeah.
to mind because it's super close and like relatively simple, right? and they have some pretty good tax structure over there. But yeah, I would love to be independent of the system and not have to basically fork over a large percentage of the wealth that I'm able to generate using my skills and talents and whatever the heck to give to
fund wars.
Yeah, to fund wars, to give dumb people. Well, again, like the taxes aren't used to fund anything. It's I don't know what they do with the money because like we just don't know. But the wars are funded with omnibus bills. You know, the government votes themselves to print new dollars, so they borrow it from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve goes to their little bank account things. They're like, okay, there's another zero here, there's another one there, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. They introduce, they send out all the money to all the people, including like banks and stuff. And then that money goes to like Raytheon, it goes to Boeing, it goes to Lockheed Martin, and you know. So if you want to make money during wartime, then go work for Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or something like that, because that's where all the money's going. It's all going to the industrial war machine. Smedley Butler actually wrote a great book, War is a Racket. Super duper short. It's more of a pamphlet than a book. But he was one of the commandants of the Marine Corps, I want to say from like the Korean War or something. But it talks about the same thing that Eisenhower warned of in his final Union address, or his I'm stepping down from presidency, is watch out for the industrial war machine, because they're just going to keep wanting to get us into war so they can keep making weapons so we can do all this craziness.
Yeah.
And America is actually very well advantaged to basically produce and export war, because geographically we're surrounded by 2 oceans and 2 peaceful things. Canada and Mexico, they're not trying to invade America. Yeah. It would cost so much money to send things across the ocean to attack us, and we have such a good defense system, and we have so much economic energy and ability to stop things that we don't really have to worry about anything except for sending out violence to everywhere else. So it's occasionally American soldiers and Marines and sailors will go out and deal with other people's problems for them because we export war. But realistically, we don't have to worry about the at-home effects of being at war.
You say that, but with all the stuff going on at the Texas border, there could easily be some kind of skirmish or confrontation that pops off in the next year.
Oh, for sure.
And especially being in the capital city of that state, you could have some stuff go off near you. I don't know. For
sure, that would be more so you've got campaign, strategic, and tactical, layers of importance and large decision making. So that'd be more of strategic problems. It wouldn't really be something that the country would have to worry a whole lot about, because we could quell any sort of problems down in Mexico if we needed to. We have the economic and the militaristic firepower to do so. It's just there'll be some collateral and stuff, but it's not we have to worry about the country being taken over. That's why Cuba.
It would just be guerrilla terrorist type stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And it would be super inconvenient for the local populace, not to sound calloused or anything, but it'd be super inconvenient for the people that live there, that are dying and
Bombs
fleeing and having terrible times. But realistically, the vast majority of America wouldn't have to worry about that so much.
On a global.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that you could do to fix America or make the world a better place, what would that be?
Broadcast as much high quality education as possible.
Okay,
because
what does high quality education mean to you, though?
Oh man, that was a good one. High quality education. So we live in the information age where everyone has access to the internet, and everyone's able to, not only information age, but we also live in the Web 2, Web 3 world. Web 1, the original internet, was read only. So all that you can do is you can go to a website and you can look at the stuff, you can't interact with it. Web 2 came around, and we have social media. We have the ability to edit Wikipedia. We can post things. We can create more on the internet. It's no longer the people that own the internet can make stuff and then you can watch it, like TV, for instance. You can't control what's on the TV, but you can control what's on the internet, because we live in Web 2. And also Web 3, where now you can read, you can write, and you can own, right? So with the advent of cryptocurrency, you can now own internet assets. You can own things that are on the internet, and you have pseudo sovereignty over some of the stuff, provided the servers are up and running and you have connection and everything. So because we live in the information age and everyone's able to create information, not only is positive information created, high quality stuff, but so is crap information, like cat memes, or if you ever search the letter O with a slash through it on YouTube, you'll just get a whole bunch of really creepy, weird, eerie videos that just they're not productive, they're not awesome. For every 1 minute that passes, there's 100 hours of stuff uploaded to YouTube. And so what that means is the amount of information that exists out there is being diluted by crap. And so you need to be able to find sticky ways to market good ideas to people and broadcast that education out there so that way like people can get stuff.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, in the old world, the only way that people got information was if they read books or read newspapers or listened to a smart guy talk. And like there was a super huge barrier of entry to creating content, right? So like if you wrote a book, if you printed a newspaper, if you directed a movie, like it had to be marketed in such a way that a lot of people are going to buy it. But nowadays, you can create content. You can shout off your soapbox about whatever the hell you want to, whether it is like useful information or not. And so there's a lot of noise being generated. And so now, because there's so much noise, people have a tougher time finding quality information. So the way that you fix America is you find a way to overpower all the crap, and you spread information out to people who have the know-how to find it and the ability to implement it and use it. So that's how you fix America, is you give people the tools to fix themselves. You can't force people to fix themselves. That doesn't work. Is this out?
You need a lighter?
No, we're still good. You can't force people to fix themselves, but if you can give people the tools to help themselves, then the strong will survive, the wheat will separate from the chaff, and the world would be made a better place. And the people that are already going to sloth around and work 40 hours a week to earn their 4 years of retirement or whatever, they're just going to go along to get along. They're going to go do their thing anyways. But the people that you can reach out and save from this rubble pile, they'll be able to better help themselves and help the people around them and help the world.
But do you not think that that's kind of how it is now? Just it's going to evolutionarily evolve into people like us that reach out and try to find information to change their lives and their outcomes. And then there's the people that just don't care and
100%.
Just live their mundane life.
100%. Think about, have you guys ever walked through a graveyard before?
Yeah.
And looked at the names and it's like, oh, these people are dead now. I wonder how many of them were fantastic musicians that never got to make the world a better place with their music.
Yeah.
How many of them had some fantastic ideas? How many of them knew how to reset bones and fix a car and all this valuable information that is forever gone and destroyed because their brains are now a whole bunch of dirt and crap.
Yeah.
Right. So what I like to do is I like to capture information and make it easy for people to find and spread. So that's my ultimate goal for everything is to spread out positive and valuable information. But the way that there's a whole bunch of ways that you can do that. This podcast is probably a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah.
You guys
That's kind of our goal. Is,
Yeah. So
we have
you guys,
a lot of cool friends. You're a pretty cool dude, Will.
Thanks,
and it's
bro.
fun to hear you talk. And
appreciate
we
it.
could be having this conversation over beers with no one listening, or we can let people listen in
Exactly.
and glean a lot of the cool stuff. Because I'm going to remember stuff like this after we talk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like we were talking beforehand, with the logo and the name and everything.
Yeah. So you guys, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. ProperThieves, where did that name come from? And I already know, but I want you to explain it for the folks at home who haven't heard it before.
Well, so originally I just wanted to start a podcast called Corbin's Collections, where I just interviewed a bunch of really cool people and gathered all the information and put it out there. And then I met my good friend Andrew here, and he was like, let's do it together. We know a lot of cool people. We have interesting conversations together. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah. So you actually came up with the name ProperThieves.
Yeah, I thought it would stand out a little bit. It's the idea of stealing ideas from people or stealing techniques or stealing fashion tips or just it's not you're not literally stealing, but it's figuratively, and
we
it's
all
kind
stand
of
on the shoulders of giants, kind of.
Exactly. It's kind of it's the proper way to thieve, to steal. You don't actually
we related
people,
it to Robin Hooding the information from people, stealing it, curating it, and then distributing it to the people that are deserving of it.
Yeah.
Or do the research to go and find it.
I like it. That's the same that's the same reason that the DGen Roundtable podcast was created, the one that I'm one of the founding members of.
Yeah.
Is we had the same idea. It's we're a bunch of dudes and we've got a bunch, well, it wasn't really about stealing ideas, but it was about just basically hey, we're people that want to talk, and why not record it and share it with other people.
That's primarily crypto podcast, yeah?
Yeah.
You guys go deep in the crypto world.
Yeah.
That information is not easy to find.
Yes, and that's the sad truth about a lot of crypto information is a lot of it's I would say shadow banned, or at least not promoted as much as cat videos and girls with cleavage and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the same algorithmic boosting as other stuff. But like, you know, whatever. YouTube can do what they want, I guess.
But you can make money other ways without having a million subscribers with that
sure.
knowledge and that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Consultations. We're gonna be. That's one of the things that we're doing in the near future is we're opening up like tiered memberships for our like we're still gonna be doing the same YouTube thing, but we've got like a Telegram channel. We're starting the monetization process on YouTube. And so like people can send in super chats and like we can choose to run ads or not or whatever, you know. I'm not terribly fond of ads myself, but you know, whatever the podcast decides.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point like we can find a way to monetize that, and yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'll be curious to see what you guys choose to do when you eventually make your way to that junction in the road.
Do you not have to have 1,000 subscribers before you
Cat
can
videos.
monetize? Yeah.
Yeah, cat
Duh.
videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that a lot of people do on Instagram is they'll create meme pages and they'll share shit tons of memes and get tons of followers. And
Yeah.
then overnight they'll delete everything and put their profile up.
Yep.
And then it's like, congratulations, now you got all these followers. And it's like, oh, that's another tool in your toolbox.
That's
so for the
smart.
folks at home, you guys can do that if you want.
Slightly dishonest, but
Oh, for sure, 100%. But it's like,
gets the job done, I guess.
yeah, if it works, it works. You know?
Yeah.
So
You know,
But then as long as you're just a
ahead.
baseline interesting person, people are still going to follow, interact, comment, and do all these things.
Yep, yep.
It's the hardest
bait
part
and
about
switch.
the hardest part about social media is getting everybody's attention. But if you already have it on you, then people still going to interact with it.
yep, we live in the attention economy. And you know, if you change everything, you know, your username, all your pictures, everything, then people be like, oh, I'm following this cool person.
Yeah.
Well,
How
I
did
guess
that come to be?
blah-de-da. Most
Yeah.
people do nothing most of the time. So
Yeah, the time it takes them to go and delete you from the friends list, they'd rather just scroll on.
very likely the case. Yeah, for sure. For sure,
Wow.
for sure.
Yeah, I think capturing people's attention nowadays, you have to have just very weighty, truthful words delivered in such a polished way that's
Quality. Yeah.
very quality. Because people's attention span is about one thumb swipe, a second and a half.
Yeah.
You know, so I have an advertising background, and it's cool to study the different media from television to print to billboards. They all have a subtle different style about them and purpose and way of delivering results. But the digital age is so different, and especially if you're being a content creator. I don't know where I was going with that.
Everyone's a
You have
content
to really focus on quality, like you're talking about, because it is a sea of shit,
Yeah.
ocean of shit, of stuff that's just gonna like kill time and give you nothing in return.
Yep. Well, you'll get the dopamine, you'll get the endorphin. So like that's how you separate the wheat from the chaff. Is like you can create quality content, or you can create like entertainment stuff. Some people do like a combination of the two, right? But like, you know, think about like Socrates. You know, he was a content creator, and the only reason he was a content creator is because some asshole was like smart enough to write down what he was saying, or
Yeah.
maybe he wrote it down himself, or something like that. And so we have the benefit of
There's a bunch of
only
Greek
seeing-
philosophers that it's only their
Yeah.
students or people that listen to their lectures
Yep.
wrote it down.
Yep. And so like that sort of stuff I would see as like low leverage philosophy or low leverage like efficacy at spreading your message, whatever your message might be. Like if you suck at marketing, doesn't matter what your message is if you can't get it out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? So like we don't know a whole lot of the comedians that were like in the same day and age as Socrates or how hilariously funny they were or like whatever because their shit didn't pass the test of time. You know, and nobody wrote it down or whatever
Yeah.
the hell.
Yeah. Do you just want to give like your one piece of advice, like if somebody's listening to this, something that you want to leave them with that you think would help them out in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Do the simple things and earn it. You have to pay the iron price in order to truly value the things that you do. And realistically, like if those of you watching think that we're all impressive people, like I don't want to say that we're not impressive people, but we probably just implement the really easy things that most people don't do. You wake up at a decent time, you brush your teeth, you eat healthy, you work out, you know, you maintain like relationships, you check up on people, you do all the simple things in life. Just do the simple things and like put in the effort to earn it. And you have to like really believe that you earn it. So that's my advice for the folks at home.
Love that. Do you have any specific, you talked about your podcast a little bit, but is there any social media or
Yeah, where
anything
can they
like
find
that?
you?
Yeah, so the people can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. That's got all of the work that I've ever done in there. And you can find the DGen Roundtable podcast. You can find the podcast that I do with my brother. Brothers, 2 of them. You can find some of the work that I've done archiving information. I created a website archive for the Rule Zero podcast where I basically found all the links to all of their podcasts, put it in one place, hired a web developer to build me a website. And so that it's essentially just a link archive. And I've also created in there my Telegram room for other cryptocurrency people, specifically Hexicans, who are fond of the hex cryptocurrency. Right? It's you can find all of these things at linktree/Will Stevenson. And also that's got my contact information. It's got all of my socials, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram. All of these things can be found at linktree/Will Stevenson. So
Go to it,
yeah.
follow, like, subscribe, everything that has to do with Will, go do it.
Yeah, and give these guys a like, comment, subscribe on this podcast. Also, if you think it's
Often,
fantastic,
multiple times.
yes, if you think that this quality is fantastic, or like if you think that this podcast has been great, then leave a comment down below. Like, give them some social proof. Say, like, it's super easy to say, like, hey, I love the podcast. I thought this, that, and the other thing about this, that, and the other thing that you talked about, and just like leave a little comment, because social proof is one of the best and most valuable ways that you can like contribute to people that you like.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Like, comment,
Right on,
subscribe,
man.
and share and everything.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you
Will.
guys.
Sounds
Will,
awesome.
thank you so much for coming on.
Hell yeah, for sure.
That was fun, man.
Yeah.